Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Dog Connection Show. This is part 2 of an 8-part series about let's set the record straight about rescues and shelters and the pet overpopulation. Now, today we're focusing on the New Mexico area because they've got an incredible plan that is coming into place. And with us, we have 2 guests, and I'm going to introduce them now. This is Representative Joanne Ferrary. She is a state rep for New Mexico, and Stacey Voss. Stacey, you might want to again explain, good morning, ladies. You might want to explain what it is that you do specifically for New Mexico and the Animal Protection Agency.
Sure. So I'm actually the Animal Welfare Director in Farmington, New Mexico for the Farmington Regional Animal Shelter. And then I have the pleasure of serving as the chairperson for the shelter committee that serves underneath the New Mexico Board of Veterinary Medicine. So
Okay. All right. And Joanne, you might want to explain your involvement as a state representative for animal welfare and pet overpopulation, and then we'll go into SB 57.
Sure. As a community member of Las Cruces, I started doing boxer rescue before I was elected. And so I became familiar working with a coalition, a local coalition, and doing boxer rescue. And so when I became a state representative, I joined in supporting a bill in 2017 to raise the pet food fee. And so I worked on that for several sessions, and we finally got it passed.
Okay, so now how did SB 57 get involved in this? What is the nature of SB 57?
SB 57 was to raise a fee that pet food manufacturers would pay. It had been $2, and other states have done this where they raise the fee to like up to $100, which our bill went from $50 the first year, $75, and then $100 the third year. And then that would make it so that we could take that funding and put it into spay and neuter clinics, low-cost spay and neuter clinics throughout the state of New Mexico, and help reduce our overpopulation of pets, and thus reducing the euthanization of adoptable pets in our state.
Okay, so now we've got Stacey. Stacey, tell us, what are the updates? I know before the show I said to Stacey, what's going on, because I know there's been a lawsuit, and you said it's so complicated now, so let's start and try and give some clarity to where are we at right now.
Okay. So the shelter committee is the one that was being tasked with how to distribute these funds. So we started talking about that process and starting to develop that process, and then we found out about the lawsuit. As of right now, where we stand is that the lawsuit has kind of put everything on hold. As the shelter committee, we and the vet board, we went through the process and went ahead and developed an application and kind of talked about how we were going to handle that as kind of a test run. And then, but currently all SB 57 funds are on hold. So nothing's being collected and nothing is being distributed. However, there is a pot of money from tax write-offs and the license plate fees and that type of thing that hasn't been distributed in a few years. So there's about $200,000 that we are going, as the shelter committee is going to distribute based off of this application process that we developed. So that's kind of where we are right now. We have a smaller pot of money than what we thought we were going to have, but there's still some money to distribute, and it's kind of a good run for this application process. So right now, the application process is open. That application can be found on the New Mexico Board of Veterinary Medicine's website. So and it's due by the end of the day, April 30th. So we've had it open for a little while, and there's a frequently asked questions document to kind of go with it. And then we have, I'm available for questions because there's a lot of questions because it's so new. But the shelter committee, you know, we've talked and just kind of talked about that. It's really wide open right now. We don't know exactly what is needed out there. So we talked about, you know, having a pretty open process this first year or these first couple of years just to see what people need funded first and to go from there. So The general plan is to end this application period on April 30th. And then the committee will meet and we'll go over and score those applications. We will give our recommendations to the vet board before their July meeting. And at that July meeting, the vet board will then make the final vote on those funding recommendations. And then hopefully funds will be distributed August or so. And if in the meantime that lawsuit gets settled and things get figured out, we'll have projects kind of lined up and ready to go to be funded. If it takes too much longer to get that lawsuit just all figured out and smoothed out, then we'll reopen the application process.
Okay. All right. Well, see, now that sounds really interesting. I watched your presentation with Elizabeth when you first were introducing this, and at that time, you had quite a number of regulations and specifics and specifications. And now this morning you said that you're actually getting a little bit more flexible on what you're looking at. So is that what you're referring to when you say that it's pretty open? You want to see what, more like a needs assessment, it sounds like.
It's a little bit of both. I mean, we, without having too much money to distribute this first year, we want to be pretty specific on what we're funding and making sure that it's making an impact. But yeah, it's everything from, it could be staffing, but with certain just outlines and budgets. Like the really important thing is to have a well thought out project or a well thought out budget for what you want to ask for the money and then what you're going to spend it on. I think the problem would be, just saying, oh, we want some money and not designating what you're going to use the money for or how many surgeries you plan on doing. But things like equipment is fine. We were talking earlier, a building purchase is probably not in the cards right now. I think the actual procedures are probably more important than that type of thing. But yeah, definitely there's room in there for like contract staff or staff, but realizing it's
capital equipment. Capital equipment you said is available too.
Right. So like if you needed an autoclave in order to do more surgery packs so you can increase your surgery capacity, that's definitely considered.
Okay. All right. So Joanne, do you have anything that you want to ask Stacey? Because I know Stacey has another appointment and we're going to let her go. Is there anything you want to ask her that you're not up to date on or that you feel she could possibly answer for us about SB 57?
Sure. Stacey, I was just wondering, the project money that you're talking about now that is not from the pet food fee bill, are these projects broader than what the SB 57 funding provides? My understanding is that it's supposed to be just for low cost spay and neuter.
Right. So no, we're using this application as kind of a test run for the SB 57 funds. And so we're treating it the same. We're using the criteria in the actual bill, like talking about only helping low income families and having to means test. And so we're just using this kind of as a test run. So it's not going to be any different than what we would do for the SB 57. We definitely might refine the application after this first year, just kind of seeing what comes in. But definitely it's kind of the same criteria.
Okay, great. I'm glad to hear that because it always is the hardest to get something started. So I'm really glad that you are able to do this with other funds and to do that. I also just wanted to add that my understanding is that they are collecting the fee, but they are keeping it on hold until the decision about the lawsuit is made. But Secretary Whitty of Agricultural Department is in charge of collecting that fee. And so my understanding is that they are collecting it, but just keeping it and not dispersing it until a decision is made.
That's great. Yeah, you would probably know better than I do as far as what their process is. But yeah, I just know that we don't have access to the funds until that gets decided.
Okay, so then we'll go on to our next section. Thank you very much, Stacey, for being on the show, and we'll hope to have you on again real soon.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
for your hard work, Stacey.
Bye. Okay, so Joanne, now it's you and I. Okay, yes. I am so impressed with the work that you have been doing, and I think I told you before that I've come from a different part of the country. I've come from Arizona, and I've only been here for about 8 months, and people keep questioning that. I've been a volunteer for Barkhouse for the full 8 months as their PR person and their social media graphics, things like that, newsletters, and I'm absolutely having a wonderful time. So one of the areas I know that you have been supporting Barkhouse for a long, long time, and you have been supporting the initiative of reducing pet overpopulation. You put together an op-ed that really pretty much went over all the reasons why you are getting involved and why you want this to happen. Why do you want Barkhouse to be in a position to be able to move forward, especially on the pet overpopulation area?
Thank you, Kathy. I just feel so strongly after working for so many years, the past 5 years, especially since Kelly has been in our community. And I just believe that this is a comprehensive program that the county really needs and wants to have. And Kelly is, or Barkhouse team can provide the, especially the veterinarian capabilities of doing the mass production of spay and neuter clinics that is so backbreaking and so hard, and it can be very expensive for our community unless we can bring in this concentrated effort to do not only the major spay and neuter clinics and have them throughout the county and available for people, such as what Barkhouse is proposing. We used to do a few clinics down in Chaparral or Mesquite or Sunland Park from our Coalition for Pets and People. But that was not often enough, and it was just very intermittent when we could get some extra funds. And the veterinarians available to do that is very sparse. We had to reach even to Arizona to bring in a special veterinarian, but that was for one day. We need to be doing 11,000 in our whole county spay and neuters to stop this overpopulation problem. The other things that the project is going to promote is something that Barkhouse has been already doing for a while, the moms and litters.
Last litter,
Last litter. That's it. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And so last litter, I think, will make a big difference too with helping people who would normally have their litters and then try to give away the puppies or sell them to their neighbors and friends who might not be able to afford to have them, but just want to help their friends and be humane for, pet population. So we need to support, getting the moms of these and their litters and the access to transporting those puppies to other communities that have already resolved their problem of overpopulation and are looking to adopt and rescue pets such as ours.
Right. You're absolutely right. And then of course the transport. I think a lot of people don't understand the importance of transport, but I have to give kudos to some of the rescues here in the area because I've noticed that now they actually have stepped up and they are going into transports by air. Not that the ground transports are not effective, but it just is so much easier and so much less harmful on the animals by having them on a flight. It is very, very labor intense and it is difficult, but once it's in place, that's great. So kudos to those rescues that are going to use the air transport. That's wonderful. And the more, if you think about it, really, Joanne, doesn't it make sense if you have animals in a community that aren't being adopted and they're sitting at a shelter, or they're at a rescue, or they're loose because the shelter is overcrowded and they can't take them in, the rescues can't take them in. So people, the community residents, are left with having to keep these animals, and it's very disheartening for them when they call and they say, I found this animal, and then nobody can take them in. So knowing that if we can help reduce that, and then we get them to another location where they absolutely are wanted and they will have forever homes, and in some cases even adopted ahead of time before they even get there, that's a win-win. Personally, from my standpoint, I feel the spay neuter is very important, but it's all hand in hand. You have to do spay neuter along with the microchip and vaccinations, and then you also have to have the transport, so that if they're spayed and neutered before they're transported out, that's great, because then we know we're not handing a potential problem to somebody else in their own community.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that you've been a big supporter about the transport programs for a while, and Kelly and Barkhouse have been able to transport a little over 5,000 dogs and cats over the last 5 years. So that's really proof of concept in essence. But
Exactly is. And I wish I could have done more, but I've participated in maybe, I'm not sure. I know at least one, but I'm not sure if I've done two or more. But it's amazing, the volunteers, and how that has to work so, quickly, that you have to get the animals there, make sure they have all their certifications and shots, and get them out to go to the bathroom before you put them on the plane for a trip.
Yeah, right.
And getting some of those dogs to do that in a hurry is not easy. And
Right.
and then get them loaded into the crates and make sure that they have the tagging and everything. It's a big operation, but also to have that coordination and networking that Barkhouse provides for that, and getting the animals from all the different rescues, and those arrangements. It's really important. And what you were saying about being so comprehensive, that is the key to this whole Barkhouse project, is that it's comprehensive, with the spay and neuter, with the transports, with helping the last litters, with other opportunities that we have in our community. And for us to be able to set a role model for what needs to happen in our city of Las Cruces, as well as our whole state. And I was really excited to hear from Stacey Vos, what they're looking at, different projects and how to support our state in getting our overpopulation under control.
Well, you and I had also shared that we don't really understand why the rescues are fighting amongst themselves, because doesn't it make more sense for us to all work together and do things that will help to support the animals, because the animals are really what the prize is, getting them to a safe place and to a safe home. That should be the end goal. But I think that type of problems where there's, I call it rescue envy sometimes, but I don't understand in New Mexico, because I haven't been here that long. Maybe you can shed light on what is the problem with some of the controversy. Where are some of these people coming from, and why do you think they are?
That's really tough. I've worked with nonprofits in lots of different areas, like DWI prevention and victim assistance, and with the pet rescues and different people working on these issues that are really hard. And as nonprofits or volunteer groups, things like that, resources are very scarce. And I think we should be working together. We should be taking those resources and trying to make the best things happen. And with the Barkhouse project, it seems like it's going to make things easier, not only on other rescues, but also on our animal services of Mesilla Valley, where they can do a better job if they don't have so many animals to have to take care of. It will make all of our work more important, and we should be doing it together.
Right. We should be doing it. But I think to myself, because I've got a marketing background, do you think maybe the message didn't get out properly? Do you think maybe they misconstrued what we were doing or where it was coming from? Because a lot of the hate came out, and we found ourselves, and when I say we, because I'm a volunteer, we found ourselves not wanting to engage in any negative behavior. It didn't do anybody any good. And because there was no engagement, that was perceived by a lot of people as, oh, they don't have a program or they're not doing it right. I don't want to talk about anything negative, but let's,
Right.
if we can clear the air and say that Barkhouse has never wanted to provide things without working with the community. It wasn't to be working only with Barkhouse. They still wanted to continue to pull from the shelter, work with the rescues, transport, etc. They had been doing it before all of this occurred, so why not continue now? So do you think that maybe that we didn't communicate it properly? And what can I do from a PR standpoint? What can I do to let the community know that we're their friends? We're here to cooperate. We're here to work with them. We don't want to have any controversy. What can we do?
That's another good question. I think because you already have been facilitating and working with them, I think it might also be good if we can get this spay and neuter funding to, those groups to also be able to take whatever animals they rescue so that they have low cost spay and neuter happening, in which I think Barkhouse will be providing for them also, because there would be cooperation of taking their pets and helping to either transport them or get the low cost spay and neuter. So I think they need to understand, and maybe we can talk to them more about how this will benefit them, how it will make it easier for them to do a better job of the taking care of the pets that they are rescuing and trying to also get for local adoption availability.
Exactly. Well, you just touched on something, and Joanne, I know you have not seen this graph that I put together, but when you see it, you're gonna. This is amazing. Look at this. Let me see if I can move this up.
Did I hit most of those points, I hope?
Well, you pretty much did. You said, how will Dona Ana County benefit? You just said if we showed the benefits.
Yep.
So
I have a degree in marketing too.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then this was done with a labor of love, and it hasn't been put out to the public. So we're just letting people know right now that we thought that maybe the confusion had been, how is the $185,000 going to be used? It's actually a service contract. It's not money that's being paid up front to Barkhouse. It's based on the services that are being done. And what the community might not realize is that the county is taking this money, supporting the spay neuter on a high volume basis, and offering free services. That means free spay neuter, free microchip, free vaccination, free rabies to the unincorporated Dona Ana County residents. And it's not going to be based on their income. It's not going to be based on anything other than that they have a Dona Ana County pets, animals, and it's not going to be restricted to 1 or 2 per family. It's how many they have. So what we've done is we've said, okay, here's this pilot program, because you have to have everything together to make sure it's all going to work. It's a test. It's a test for a 6-month period. So under the $185,000, it's estimated, this is estimated now, that 3 microchip and vaccination clinics will be put together, and each clinic will be about $10,000 in cost, which average during these clinics, it's about $20 that people will spend. So figure that's about 500 animals per clinic, 3 of those. So that's 1,500 animals that will be microchip vaccinated and rabies shots during that 6-month period. In terms of the last litter, it's estimated that 10 mamas and with an average of 10 puppies. So that's let me see, what would that be? That would be 100. Yeah, 110. They would be, that's about $1,200 per litter. Now, understanding that the mamas and puppies is very high maintenance, and it's also very high cost to maintain, because we don't know where these puppies come from, or these mamas come from. So sometimes they come from the shelter, sometimes they come from other rescues, sometimes they're found in the desert by ACOs. It depends on where they're coming from, but we go under the assumption that the mamas have not been, they don't have any kind of nurturing, they haven't had any vaccination, so you start from square one, and then you go from there. So the cost is very high, especially when it comes to vet care. And then, of course, transport. We're looking at doing 5 transports with an average of 50 dogs per transport over a 6-month period, which is about 250 animals that are being transported. So the estimate results are, within a 6-month period, 1,000 animals will be spayed and neutered. And the costs are broken down to $84,000 is going towards spay and neuter, which means that's $90 for a dog and $60 for a cat, and it's offered free to the community. So that is fantastic. And then in terms of the clinics will be $30,000. Last litter is $12,000. Transport is $25,000. And then, of course, the overhead, you have to have people to run the logistics and all of that. That is $34,000. So that's where the $185,000 comes from. Do you have any questions on this at all, or did you want to, do you feel that this is really a doable thing?
Oh, definitely. I think it's doable. I have all the faith in Kelly and the team. I think that and I think you need to remember that the $90 average for the spay and neuter includes the microchipping and making sure they have their vaccinations. Yes.
Right.
So
microchip.
That is
and rabies too.
That's amazing, because it costs so much to do all of those things, and to have a veterinarian available to do these, as kind of like on demand, and to keep that going. I think it's going to be great that we have a county that really cares about investing, and this will actually save. In the legislature, we're always talking about the cost benefit and the ratios, and how do we leverage, New Mexico's investment for what the payoff or what federal dollars will bring in. And if you have a ratio of at least 1 to 2, which I think that it's been estimated hundreds of thousands of savings, like I don't know what that is, the number, but I know it's at least 1 to 2, if not 1 to 3 or 1 to 4 ratio of cost savings that our county will see. And I think the benefit and the convenience and the safety of the unincorporated areas of Dona Ana County are so important that our county really cares about trying to do this. And you can't do it like we've been doing for years, a little bit here and a little bit there, kind of like nibbling at the edges. We have to do this in a very concentrated and concerted effort. And I think that's why this program is going to be so great, and how we can reach out to the other groups and people who care about this issue also is really important.
Well, again, speaking from on the outside looking in, what I thought was really beneficial is, with this system, it has accountability and transparency behind it. So where these dollars are going, how they're going to be used, what the results are. I think the county has been really excellent in looking at what kind of a program would provide that, because right now there isn't accountability because everything is so scattered. And they don't really get the results that they want, and they don't get what they're needing. Do you hear my team in the background?
Yes,
So,
I'm so glad to hear them.
yeah, the Barkhouse, literally. Yeah. So when you look at accountability, I think one of the things that you, and being in marketing, you know that you need to have results. You need to know, is it working? Is it really something? And if it's not working, why are we doing it? So that's where the pilot comes in. We know that it works in a lot of different areas and it's all together under one roof, but that doesn't mean that the community is being left out. The community actually is part and parcel to the whole thing, like you pointed out. If they have community dogs or they bring in those dogs and they are in the county, they are entitled to free spay neuter. Beautiful. That's great. Why wouldn't you want something like that? And they're also eligible to be transported out in the event that there is an issue with not being able to get them adopted in the area. So it really is a win-win.
Well, I think something else that's really important that you touched on was that this is a fee-for-service type contract. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a service contract. Yeah.
So if you don't provide the service, then you are not paid. But what I know of Kelly and Barkhouse team is that you all go above and beyond. I used to do some contract work for underage drinking prevention. And we, had where we did the same service, fee for service, but we always did so much more. We did the added benefits and different things, even if we didn't have more time being billed. But I feel like Barkhouse is going to try and do everything they can for our community. And this funding for these services will also give them an opportunity to help with, as much as they can.
Yes, and I have to say, having been in rescue for 50 some years, you know that many times you put women together and it's difficult to work with. I was blown away, Joanne, when I met the team, the Barkhouse team here. These women, there are a few men, but mostly women, they are all for helping the animals. They work in unison. They will go that extra mile. They can be contacted 24/7. You would think that they were being paid, but they're not. And I'm really blown away at the loyalty and the consistency. And also for the other rescues in the area too. They seem to want to really, really help. I just love the idea of having it all united and work together under one roof. So
Sure.
yeah.
And Animal Humane Society of Southern New Mexico, Frank Bryce and
Frank,
Gilbert,
yeah.
They all have been very supportive of a lot of these ideas and things to come together and of this project. And I just know that even the things that they do as volunteers and the minimal amount of funding that they get, that this will help them do their mission and for them to accomplish things too. And then I know that they are very supportive of the Barkhouse project, and
Right.
I'm really glad for that. That there are other rescues that are doing a good job.
Right. And you look at what is the county thinking and what does the county really want to do? They really are looking at, they don't want to have their animals go to the shelter. They would love to be able to pull the animals and have them transported out, or a minimal stay at the shelter. We get that, because I think right now they're funding 1.2 or $1.5 million. I'm not really sure how much.
I think it's 1.8.
1.8. Okay, 1.8 million. And when you look at the results of that, even if you do the math, the cost per animal is anywhere from $900 to $1,000. And if they can reduce that and put that into spay neuter, I think that's where the trade-off is coming in. Let's get the animals out. Let's get them spayed and neutered before they get out. And we have a community that is controllable in terms of overpopulation. So I really have to say, I think that Mr. Macias and all the commissioners have done a fabulous job in taking a hard look at how this is coming together and what it can do for the community. So 6 months, try it, see how it works. And then after 6 months, we'll revisit, because obviously you think 185,000 is a lot of money, but not for all of the programs. It's really quite a bit. And keep in mind that when the vet is actually here and able to work 5 days a week, you're talking 5 days a week at an average of 30 spay neuters per day. So you're going now into the like you said, we need to have at least 10,000 or 12,000. So you're getting into those higher numbers, which is absolutely mandatory for the area. And again, the operative word here is it's free. It's free for the community. It's a gift from heaven that the community, that the county is giving to the community residents.
Right.
I don't know how to make it any clearer. I hope they see this gift as a gift.
And that 185,000 is approximately 1/10 of what they have to invest every year. So if they can reduce maybe by at least 30, 40, 50% what they have to spend annually, to me, that's really good for the community as well as for the pets in our community. So it's a win-win situation.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I hope we've cleared up some things. The last thing we want to talk about is the notion of having a New Mexico Cares initiative with the hashtag New Mexico Cares. I know that this is near and dear to your heart, so you might want to explain how you envision a coalition of all of it, or an initiative of all of us working together to try and support this.
Well, the New Mexico Cares project, I think, is a great idea. It's where we can bring together community groups throughout, not only like we've done in Dona Ana County. We had the Pets and People Coalition. And if we did this on a statewide basis, I think it would be a wonderful way to share ideas, to come together. We've done that at the state level where we had the Hunger, Food, and Ag Coalition. And during the pandemic, as we were having meetings, this task force to develop what became one of several of our bills that we proposed during the last session to resolve food insecurity. Even just by meeting during the pandemic, these groups worked together and they were expressing different concerns and problems, and other people were there to fill in and help resolve them, just even as we're meeting. And so I think with the coalition, New Mexico Cares idea would benefit all the people who are working on this effort to have reduce our pet population. How do we resolve even things like I had a bill where we wanted to make it so that if a dog attacks chickens, which now we have within the city limits of many of our communities, that they would have to automatically be put down. Well, having that bill, we had some opposition from agriculture communities who didn't understand it. But if we had a New Mexico Cares group, not only working on overpopulation and doing transports and things like that, but getting information about, different legislation. I guess this is kind of a selfish motive for this whole group, but there's other things too that shelter, like having Stacey Vose talk to all of these different groups and share the sheltering board and getting better shelter conditions. There are some conditions that are horrific, and because different communities haven't invested, like Las Cruces and Dona Ana County have in our shelter. Or Animal Services Center, they would prefer to be called. But it's something that I think would be really helpful for those who are working on this issue. It will help, with different legislation. It will help with getting information for better services and better environment for our pets that do get caught up in the, if they aren't microchipped or they need to be rehomed in being spayed and neutered.
Okay, well, I just put up, posted your link to your page. You've done a wonderful job. We're very lucky to have you
Thank
here,
you.
Joanne. You come to the table, and I also put a link up to the opt-in that you put together, which again was really very marvelous. You came to the table with armor on, and you also identified and you let people know what your feelings are, which is really good. The transparency, I think, is so important. You are very transparent. Barkhouse is very transparent, and I hope that where I come in is being able to be that tool, be that forum, so that people can speak their mind. And with these shows, we hope we'll be able to influence the community to say, okay, if you've got a problem, come forward and let's talk about it. Let's have these conversations so that nobody is feeling left out, or no one is feeling that the program is not, that they can't participate, because they all are welcome to. So what's the last words you want to give, Joanne?
Oh, it's just so wonderful to have community support for issues like this, and people who volunteer, and such as yourself, working so diligently, and I believe it's like full-time job for you.
Well, it is, but I'm retired. So this is a wonderful, wonderful passion for me. Yeah.
That's what's important, that you enjoy and have fun doing the things that are important to you. And so we want to make sure that people understand, if we make this investment, such as the Barkhouse project, how it leads to other things that will be better for our community. And that's my goal too, that we do these things that are necessary and concentrated and well coordinated, and have the outreach and the impact. I think that's an important word, having the impact that will make a difference.
Okay, well, Joanne, I want to thank you for being on the show, and we are really, really, this is the second series, but we definitely, if you're available, would love to have you on, maybe even as a host in some cases, maybe the Joanne show.
I'll fill in for you while you're on vacation.
All right, there you go. Okay, there you go. That sounds
Thanks,
good.
Kathy. This is wonderful, and I appreciate being on the show.
Okay, well, it's our honor. Our honor. Thank you so much, Joanne. Bye-bye.
Bye.